Human rescued the alien princess. The Queen's reaction stunned everyone. The escape pod drifted slowly through the dark, silent space between stars. Its power was low, its beacon weak, and its occupant had already accepted that help would not come in time. Princess Selari of the Elthari had been taught from birth that her people ruled by wisdom, patience, and careful distance. No Elthari ship ever rushed into danger. No rescue was attempted without layers of permission, calculation, and political balance. That knowledge gave her no comfort now. She floated alone, wrapped in thin emergency fabric, her breathing steady but shallow. The pod's glass surface showed endless black dotted with distant lights that did not care whether she lived or died. The Concord's traffic lanes were far away. Rescue fleets would be debating responsibility, cost, and protocol. She closed her eyes, not in fear but in quiet disappointment. Then something changed. The pod's sensors picked up movement. A single signal, not a fleet, not a patrol, just one ship. Selari opened her eyes and focused on the display. The ship was small, old. Its hull design was unfamiliar, rough around the edges, clearly modified many times. It did not carry the elegant curves of elder species or the intimidating mass of conquered warships. The pod's translator struggled, then identified the vessel. Human. Selari felt confusion more than relief. Humans were new, very new, barely recognized as a minor participant in the Concord. They had few colonies, limited influence, and almost no presence in high politics. Their ships were considered inefficient, their technology practical but unrefined. Most importantly, humans did not rescue important people, not because they were cruel, but because they were insignificant. The ship slowed and matched the pod's drift. No weapons powered up. No scan beams pierced the pod. A simple message came through, unencrypted. Escape pod detected, you're safe, we've got you. For the first time in many cycles, Selari felt gravity under her feet. The pod door opened and warm air flowed inside, carrying unfamiliar but pleasant scents. A human stood waiting. He was taller than she expected, wearing a simple work suit marked by faded patches and repair stains. His posture was relaxed, his expression calm. No guards flanked him. No recording devices hovered nearby. "Welcome aboard," he said. "I'm Daniel, take your time." "That's enough." He did not behave like someone standing near royal blood. He treated her like a guest. Medical scans were run with her permission. Water adjusted to her biology was offered. The lights were dimmed slightly when she showed discomfort. "You can rest," Daniel said. "We'll let your people know where you are." "Just me and the ship." Elthari observers detected the rescue signal and immediately flagged it as an error. A human civilian vessel had intercepted a royal escape pod. Alerts were sent. Councils convened. Assumptions were made. Most believed the human did not understand what he had found. Others feared opportunism. But as hours passed, the monitoring data confused them further. No demands were sent. No data extraction occurred. No course change toward political centers. The human ship simply traveled toward Elthari space at a steady, legal speed. Inside the ship, Selari awoke to the sound of quiet humming. She felt rested, nourished, safe. Daniel was in the common area repairing a small device. He looked up when she entered. "Hungry?" he asked. She nodded slowly. The meal he prepared was simple, carefully balanced to her needs. He watched her eat only long enough to ensure it caused no harm, then returned to his work. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Daniel considered the question seriously, as if it deserved thought. "Because leaving someone out there didn't feel right." No calculation of importance. Selari felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Among her people, duty was assigned. Kindness was structured. Care was commanded. This was different. She realized that Daniel had not once asked her name. Later, when she offered it herself, he nodded politely and said, "Nice to meet you." As the ship crossed into Elthari-controlled space, a royal fleet appeared, brilliant and overwhelming in comparison. Communication channels flooded with formal greetings, demands for verification and security protocols. Daniel forwarded everything calmly. When instructed to remain where he was, he complied. When told to prepare for inspection, he opened all systems without protest. Selari stood beside him as the fleet docked. Elthari officials entered, stunned by the simplicity of the scene. The princess was unharmed, calm, comfortable. The human stood quietly to the side, hands clasped, waiting to be told what to do. As Selari was escorted back to royal transport, she paused and turned to Daniel. "Thank you," she said. He smiled. "Any time." The royal transport moved through Elthari space like a living jewel, its surface glowing with soft light and shifting colors. Inside, Princess Selari sat quietly, her hands folded, her posture calm. Around her, attendants spoke in low voices, sending reports, confirming data, and preparing explanations. They kept glancing at her, as if expecting fear or distress. They did not find it. Selari's thoughts were not on the danger she had escaped, but on the small human ship now far behind her, on the quiet voice that had said, "You're safe," on the strange feeling of being helped without being measured. When the transport reached the capital world, the sky opened into layers of light and motion. Towers rose like crystal trees, connected by flowing paths of energy. This was the heart of the Elthari, a place of careful beauty and controlled power. The queen was already waiting. Queen Thalara did not sit when her daughter entered the chamber. She stood tall, her presence filling the space without effort. Her eyes searched Selari's form first, checking for harm, imbalance, or weakness. Only when she was certain did her shoulders relax. "My daughter," the queen said, "you have returned." She explained how no fleet came, how the conquered delayed, how the beacon weakened. Then she spoke of the human. The advisors listened closely. Some exchanged glances, others made quiet notes. When Selari described the rescue, the lack of protocol, the simple kindness, the room grew very still. "He did not ask for compensation," one advisor asked. "No," Selari replied. "He did not attempt to secure advantage." "Alone. I want a full review, not of the rescue, of humanity." He had sent the required reports, answered inspections, and returned to his trade route. He did not think of himself as important, but his ship traffic clearance was suddenly delayed. Messages arrived requesting interviews. Diplomatic channels opened that had never spoken to him before. Daniel frowned at the console. That's new." Analysts reviewed human history, records of disaster responses, civilian rescues, medical aid given without treaties, trade ships diverting to help unknown species. The pattern grew clearer and more disturbing. Humans did not wait. They did not ask permission to care. They helped first and justified later. Queen Thalara watched the reports with sharp focus. This was not weakness. This was not ignorance. This was something else. "They do not calculate worth before action," an analyst said. "They calculate ability. Can I help? If yes, they act." "They did not fear consequence," Selari said softly, "but they respected boundaries." "The conquered respects power," Queen Thalara said. "It fears unpredictability. Humans are both." Toward a civilian, almost impossible. "And the human?" Selari asked. "I will speak to him myself." "Well," he said to the empty room, "that's definitely new. If humans helped without reason, what else might they do without warning?" Daniel's ship entered the capital system under escort. He followed instructions carefully, feeling very out of place among the elegant vessels around him. When he disembarked, the scale of the palace made him pause. "So this is how the other half lives," he muttered. He was guided through halls of light and quiet sound. No guards blocked his path, no weapons were visible. The queen awaited him in an open chamber, her posture relaxed but commanding. Daniel stopped at a respectful distance. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing awkwardly. Queen Thalara studied him, not as a ruler studies a subject, but as a mind studies a question. "Daniel of Earth," she said, "you rescued my daughter. You expected nothing in return." Across the conquered, the moment was recorded, analyzed, and quietly feared. Humanity had not announced itself with fleets or threats. It had done something far more dangerous. It had shown who it was, and the galaxy was beginning to understand that this rescue was not an exception. It was a warning. Part 2 ends here. The chamber was filled with quiet light when the Queen dismissed Daniel. There was no dramatic ending, no loud declaration. He was escorted out with the same calm respect he had been shown since arriving. Yet the moment he stepped back onto his ship, the effect of the meeting began to spread like a slow wave across the Concord. Queen Thalara remained standing long after he left. Princess Selari stayed beside her, sensing that something important had shifted, though no one had spoken it aloud yet. The Queen turned to the observers hidden behind transparent panels and active data fields. "Send the full record," she said. "Not a summary, not an interpretation, everything." That decision alone stunned the inner circle. The Elthari rarely shared unfiltered royal encounters. Information was power, and power was carefully shaped. But the Queen's expression left no room for debate. Within hours, the recording was transmitted across the Concord. Delegates watched as the human stood alone before an elder queen. They saw no fear, no arrogance, no attempt to impress. They heard his words simple and unguarded. They noted what he did not say even more than what he did. He did not claim virtue. He did not speak for his species. He did not ask for protection or favor. He simply answered questions honestly. In council halls and private chambers, reactions varied. Some laughed uneasily. This is what caused concern. This is confidence without display. No central command, no single doctrine, no enforced rule, just behavior. Queen Thalara convened a full Concord session. Attendance was mandatory. Even the oldest species sent representatives, curious or cautious. When the Queen entered the chamber, conversation faded into silence. She did not take the central seat immediately. Instead, she stood, letting the pause stretch. "You have all seen the record," she said at last. "You have all reviewed the data. An individual acting with full awareness, yet without fear." "They are unpredictable," someone said. "Yes," the Queen agreed, "but not chaotic. They do not behave as we do, because they do not think as we do. Because they believe it is necessary. We stop treating humanity as a variable. We recognize them as a constant." Humanity was no longer unnoticed. On his ship, Daniel remained unaware of the debate raging across space. He was focused on a malfunctioning stabilizer, humming softly as he worked. His communicator chimed repeatedly with messages he had not yet opened. When he finally did, he sighed. "Wow," he muttered. "That's a lot." Some polite, some cautious, some clearly nervous. Daniel ignored most of them. He sent one message instead, addressed only to Princess Selari. "I'm back en route. Glad you're home safe." He has no interest in being important. A damaged research vessel accepted aid from a passing human crew. The humans repaired the systems, shared supplies, and left without recording the interaction. Another world facing environmental collapse received human engineers. They worked alongside locals, adapted methods to fit alien needs, and departed when stability returned. Each time, observers waited for hidden cost. None came. Fear grew not of aggression but of imbalance. "How do you negotiate with those who don't seek advantage?" one diplomat asked quietly. Queen Thalara answered that question in a private session. "You don't," she said. "You align with them, or you stay out of their way." She thought of the moment in the escape pod when she had believed no one would come. She had been wrong. Humans did not come because she was royal. They did not come because they were ordered. They came because she was there. That idea spread faster than any fleet. Stories began to circulate, among merchants, among travelers, among fringe colonies. "If you're lost, call a human." It shifted slowly, like a great machine adjusting its balance after a new weight was added. Humanity had become that weight. In council chambers, human-related topics appeared more often on agendas. Not accusations, not praise, questions. What motivated them? How far would they go? What happened if they were refused? No one had clear answers. Queen Thalara watched these developments carefully. She allowed discussion but offered little guidance. She had learned something important from Daniel's quiet presence. Humans did not push, they waited, and when they acted, they did so with calm certainty. That made them difficult to test. Eventually, the test came anyway. A border system near the edge of conquered space suffered a massive infrastructure failure. Power grids collapsed. Life support systems began to fail. The system was politically complicated, claimed by two rival species who rarely cooperated. Their fleets argued over responsibility while the situation worsened. Human ships were nearby. A request for aid was drafted, debated, revised, and delayed. By the time it was officially sent, several human vessels were already diverting course. They did not wait for permission. They arrived with engineers, medical teams, and modular repair units. They coordinated with local authorities without demanding control. They shared resources openly. When asked under whose authority they operated, one human captain replied, "Whoever needs us most right now." They repaired systems that benefited everyone. They refused exclusive agreements. They worked until stability returned, then prepared to leave. The rival species were forced to cooperate simply to keep up. When the crisis ended, the humans departed quietly, leaving behind functioning infrastructure and a system that had learned briefly how to work together. The conquered took notice. In the aftermath, debates grew sharper. They interfere without mandate, one delegate argued. They prevent collapse, another replied. They change outcomes. The queen waited until all were present before speaking. "You fear humanity," she said calmly, "not because they threaten you, but because they do not need you. What if they decide to stop? But they can be trusted." "Again," he said quietly. This time the invitation was different, not a meeting, a request. The Conquered was forming a new initiative, a rapid response network for non-military crises, disasters, system failures, medical emergencies, situations where speed mattered more than authority. The Queen wanted human involvement from the beginning, not as leaders, as anchors. Daniel read the message several times. Then he forwarded it to a general human network channel with a simple note. "They're asking if we want to help set something up. Anyone interested?" Instead, small groups began organizing routes, sharing resources, and creating open protocols. Everything was transparent, everything was optional. Conquered officials struggled to understand how it worked. "It shouldn't," one analyst said. "There's no enforcement." It was a different kind of order. When the initiative was officially announced, the Queen made a decision that shocked everyone. She placed the Elthari seal beside the human symbol. Equal standing, no probation, no trial period. Gasps echoed through the chamber. "This is premature," a delegate protested. "It is overdue," the Queen replied. Princess Sailari felt pride in something deeper. Relief. The initiative launched within days. Its first mission responded to a medical shortage on a distant world. Human teams worked alongside Elthari specialists and others. No one commanded, they communicated, adjusted, solved problems. The results were undeniable, lives stabilized, systems recovered, tensions eased, and then the humans left. No monuments, no claims. The Conquered began to change how it spoke. Instead of asking, "Who controls this sector?" "You revealed something." But it had learned something crucial. If humanity ever chose to withdraw, the galaxy would feel the absence immediately. And if humanity ever chose to stand together, nothing would move them. Not because they were ordered to, but because they believed it was right. The Conquered had always measured time by treaties, wars avoided, and borders held. But after the human initiative began, time started being measured differently. It was measured in responses. A signal sent, a ship arriving, a problem eased. Quiet changes, repeated often enough, began to reshape habits that had lasted for centuries. Queen Thalara understood this better than anyone. She watched reports scroll across her private display, not as statistics but as stories. A mining station stabilized before evacuation was needed. A medical shortage resolved before panic spread. A long-isolated colony reconnected to trade routes with help from human navigators who expected nothing in return. Humanity had become present, not dominant, not commanding, present. The conquered adapted because it had to. Some species resisted. They delayed cooperation, refused shared protocols, or attempted to redirect human aid toward advantage. Each time the result was the same. The humans simply declined and went where they were needed elsewhere. No arguments, no threats, no pressure, just absence. And the absence spoke louder than force ever could. Princess Selari often walked the upper gardens of the palace now, thinking. She had changed since the rescue, though few could say exactly how. She listened more. She questioned assumptions. She noticed when decisions were made out of habit rather than care. She thought often of Daniel, not as a symbol but as a person. He still refused titles, still avoided public attention, still flew his small ship along ordinary routes, stopping where help was needed and leaving before gratitude could turn into obligation. When the Queen summoned him one final time, the invitation was different again. No formality, no public audience, just a quiet request to come speak. Daniel almost declined. Almost. But something in the message felt final, not urgent, but important. He arrived without escort. Queen Thalara met him not in the great chamber, but in a smaller room overlooking the city. No advisors stood nearby. Princess Selari was present, standing by the window. "Thank you for coming," the Queen said. Daniel nodded. "You said it was important." The Queen gestured for him to sit. He did, carefully. "For generations," Queen Thalara said, "the conquered has survived by balance. We avoided collapse by managing fear, ambition, and power. As a practice, you have become a foundation," she continued, "without asking to be." The declaration was broadcast across known space. Every delegate, every major world, every observer. Queen Thalara appeared on screen, her posture formal, her voice calm. "Today," she said, "the conquered recognizes humanity as a stabilizing species. A species whose presence reduced collapse, whose actions increased survival, whose absence would be felt immediately. This recognition carries no obligation," the Queen continued. "Humanity owes us nothing. We acknowledge what already exists." He acted because someone needed help. After the broadcast ended, Daniel let out a long breath. "You could have warned me." Or better, just steady continuation. Humans kept helping. The conquered kept adapting. Stories spread, not as propaganda, but as reassurance. A ship lost its way and was guided home. A world faced shortage and found relief. A conflict cooled because humans refused to choose sides. Children on distant worlds began to play games where one role was always the same. The one who arrived when things went wrong. They called that role human. Princess Selari stood once more at the edge of the gardens, watching a human ship depart the capital system. Not Daniel's this time. Another one, different shape. Same purpose. Her mother joined her. "They will not always be liked," Selari said. "No," the Queen replied. "They will be needed. Then the galaxy will help them, because they taught us how." And across the stars, that was enough. The conquered would remember fleets and empires. But long after borders shifted and councils changed, one truth would remain, quietly spoken in many languages. When everything else fails,